Sounds, camera, action with inspiring leaders. Today, I'm excited to introduce Ms. Sharifa Amin, a university and career guidance specialist, specially deals with students at post 16 levels and help families to understand the career choices better. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, to begin with, Sharifa, what inspired you to become a counselor?
My career has always been in education. I've done many things across the years. I was a teacher at some point. I was head of curriculum, head of department. I was even a philosophy professor at some point. I taught at university. Ultimately, what led me back into counseling is because I do believe in the power of helping young people figure out what they would want to do with their lives, which is something that I wish everybody had access to. Because at such a young age, young people are under an enormous amount of pressure to figure out what they are expected to do. And in my role and in my ability to help them figure out what it is they would like to do, how it is they want to help, what contribution they want to make to the world, gives me the most satisfying. It's a passion of mine to help people figure out what it is they would like to do.
And what do you think when the students come to you? What are the struggles they discuss with you? The general struggles they face when decide what career choices they're going to be deciding in future.
The struggle that I see most commonly in students that I work with is between external pushes, let's say, and internal pulls. And I'll explain what that means. It's always a struggle between the facts and constraints that they have no control over, or external factors. For example, it could be pressure coming from home. It could be financial constraints that they are limited in terms of what their parents can help them do. It could be expectations that come with culture. It could be, and this is very common coming from Dubai, the pressure of prestige and getting to a certain level or university or title that they believe equates to achievement. On a whole, that is one factor. All of these are factors that influence what we're calling external pressures. Different students have their own issues, own pressure points to deal with, versus what we call internal pulls. What gives them their motivation or what they identify as values. It could be that their values come with helping others, or that they prioritize well-being, or they prioritize independence, or they prioritize a work-life balance. It is when those different factors clash that students face anxiety. They face a sense of struggle. They face making inauthentic choices and for the wrong reasons. So if we look at it as a simple example, for instance, if we have a student whose priority in life is, or their main value is, they want to be able to help people. But at home, there's constant pressure of you need a high-paying job because this is what is expected of you. So instead of going into a major or a job or a career or a university that is people serving, they're forced or pressured to study something like business, finance, because sometimes they believe that this is the quickest route to make money.
True.
So it sounds abstract, and I tried to give you an example, but it is those struggles when they're incompatible and students make inauthentic choices. This is the biggest struggle that I see with young adults these days.
And what advice you give them when they come to you and they just share their viewpoint, they share their struggle?
Identify those constraints. Identify them, know them, and they will not be held against you. Everybody faces pressure there's no life without it. We learned that as adults. If you identify those constraints and classify what you control from what you cannot, it will empower you to make authentic choices that feel genuine, like feel like your own. There are things we cannot control in life. We learned that.
True.
What we can control is what we do with the cards that we are dealt, given the constraints that we cannot change. You cannot choose your family, but you can choose your values. And you can choose to make decisions that honor your family, if that's a priority to you, and to make genuine decisions that feels yours as well, so you can have a meaningful, authentic life. My advice is striking the balance. Identify what you can control, what you cannot.
So that's very important point for the young people to understand as well. Let's talk about from curiosity to careers. Let's talk about primary schools.
Let's talk about primary schools.
So what do you think? We should start preparing them from primary school to choose their career in later stage, and how we can introduce that?
In primary settings, whether we know it or not, children observe the world. Because education, and we know this as educators, it does not stop in the classroom. Learning is a journey. It's ongoing. It's what goes on at home, what goes on in school as well. It's what goes on in the playground to a large extent. If we connect what we call work to what is happening in the classroom, we're doing it anyway. Career education shouldn't be something separate. It should be something embedded. Because whether we know it or not, children are observing things around the world. It's introducing curiosity of what this could lead to. So instead of saying like, today you are learning how to write, we emphasize a skill of today you are learning how to communicate your ideas clearer. It is not just math. It is problem solving. Another very important thing is primary is a very important stage to challenge stereotypes. Because by the time they come to secondary, you are fixing assumptions. You shouldn't be starting from scratch. For example, why is it always assumed that the doctor is the male, the nurse is the female?
Oh, that's a very good question. Wow. Yeah.
Why?
Why do you think so?
It's
I think it's more of like when we look at nurses, it's more of a mother's feeling we get. It's like more of like the female. It's a culture also. Yeah, it's a culture, like how people look at things, But now if we see the change, we do see a lot of female doctors as well.
Yes.
The world is changing.
100%.
So if I say it's a stereotype, yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. We assume that it's a good doctor would be a male one. It's an assumption,
It's the image that comes to our brain.
Yeah.
But what if this is a conversation that is had with somebody who is 5, 6, 7 years old?
Because I think in the form of play and storytelling.
100%.
When we are introducing these characters in the classroom in a form of storytelling, maybe we are telling them that, this is a doctor and he's a male.
Yeah.
And when we are introducing a nurse, we are telling them she's a female. So that mindset starts from a very early age in the classroom. So we have to change right from the beginning.
And that's careers education.
Exactly.
And that's
Wow.
careers education.
Yeah, that's an eye-opener though.
Thank you.
That's an eye-opener. So what do you think the teachers need to understand when they are introducing any kind of, I should say, topic or the theme in the classroom? Because if we talk about early years, we talk about the themes introduction, storytelling. They have different corners in the classroom where they're introducing these things. So what do they have to understand so that that gap needs to build up from a very early age? What do you think? What teachers need to do? What's the role of the teacher in this?
Teachers play a very, very important role. They are the shapers of meaning. They should prioritize teaching skills alongside the content. The teachers also have a duty to legitimize all pathways. Something that I see, and this large part of it comes from home, but like we said that in education, home and school have to work together.
True.
Which is, there are certain pathways that are seen as more prestigious than others. And this is something, I don't want to say that it's culture specific, but it tends to be across most cultures, that some careers are generally seen more valuable than others. Teachers should say and emphasize how all pathways are legitimate. Like, if you are passionate about art, that can lead to a thriving career.
I agree.
And it challenges also a lot of what could be having said at home. So if home is saying you have to be a doctor or engineer or nothing, but then there is a supportive figure in school that recognizes a passion, that recognizes a talent, that can be enough to open up a pathway that the student maybe did not know about. If the teacher, even at a young age, legitimizes and opens eyes about how this can lead to thriving careers. Teachers also need to, it's the little language that you infuse within daily life that makes me really believe that careers education shouldn't be separate, it's embedded. For instance, giving tiny feedback, like instead of saying like that's an excellent question, say that's an excellent question, that is how a scientist would think. It's
it's a kind of a connection they have to,
exactly.
They have to make. Yeah.
And one of the biggest problems that we face in 2026, and I believe that everybody who works in education will say this, is that a lot of times learning is not relevant to whatever comes after school. But this is something that is in our power to change. And it is in our power to change from primary. Because when we emphasize the connection, when we make the connection, like you said, it makes learning more relevant. It makes students want to come to school. It takes away the thoughts of, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Because embedding careers education from a young age solves that problem. It prevents it from rising.
True.
Because they already see why this is happening, why this is leading, how the content is relevant, how the skills is relevant. The fact that we still have children post 16, even post 18, who are still asking, why is this relevant? What am I ever going to do with this? Identifies a gap, which
So this
careers
needs
education
to-
can close.
You're saying that if we start introducing in a form of, I should say, the connection as you spoke about, if we start doing that in primary school, it's going to help them in secondary
Yes.
to understand that gap. That what you're trying to. Now, this leads me to my next question. If you look at teachers now,
Yeah.
we assume that teachers are mostly females.
Yes.
When you're talking about. So females could be a better teacher than, we have, it's a general conversation when you're talking about doctors. I was thinking about this question related to teachers. So let's come back to teachers and a student relationship and how it can help them to build that career. Do you think if the teacher is showing a kind of empathy towards students in understanding their career choices, this child will be more interested in knowing it or more involved in the classroom? Do you think so?
If you ask me, this is something that is done, that a lot of schools do. They have days when they bring in parents to talk about their jobs. I know some schools have dress up as the career of the future day. In my opinion, this is great, very effective, but needs to be something ongoing. It needs to be something that is repeated and that students are given opportunities to reflect on. Skills need to be clearly embedded. Okay? So yes, there's teamwork, but students need to hear the word teamwork, communication, adaptability, and they need to be told that this is how adults do it. Like if you are in a real job, this is how it should be done. It's okay if you say this to a 9 and a 10-year-old, because then they'll understand the relevance of working in a group, that it's not just we're doing it to be mean or because we want to grade less, for instance, because it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another very important thing is linking specific subjects to what they teach students in the future. So, for instance, how math can help students learn how to manage a budget, how science can lead to developing hypotheses and testing it. Because they do, but tell students that they do. And tell them, like, what we did today, this is kind of job would use it. For instance, students build things all the time. Tell them at the end of a lesson what we did, the same thought process, the skills that we used is how an engineer would build this building, would build this school. Why not say that to a young child? This is one of the kind of thing that makes it more relevant than just thinking about the future on the day where I have to dress up as who I want to be.
Okay, next question. What is the role of AI in deciding the career, what they are doing in the classroom? I can see a lot of students take help from AI in their project work. And do you think that plays an important role in the current generation?
So, whether we choose to accept it or not, AI is not going anywhere anytime soon. It's the biggest revolution since the internet, okay? If we as educators keep telling students don't use AI, we appear irrelevant. We appear as behind the times and old-fashioned, and that we don't know what we're saying. And they think that anyway. We need to teach them how to use AI, okay?
To be safe also as well.
Safety is another big problem. So in terms of university and university applications, it's a great research tool. Use it as a starting point. But your best source of information will always be university websites and more official sources. AI cannot write your personal statement for you, but you can ask it to help you brainstorm. You can ask it how to make your essay stronger, things like that. This I once heard in a conference, because there's always this talk about AI is going to replace all of us, la la la. I always tell them no, AI is not going to replace you, but someone who uses AI will. Look at what happened when COVID hit and all of us switched to online school. I think this was the first time in a very long time, and we haven't seen it since then, when everybody appreciated teachers and appreciated the effort that they put in to work with children day in and day out and give and keep giving. Once we all switched to online learning, nothing was the same. And I'm sure you and everybody else who works in education can agree, we're still dealing with the gaps.
Oh, 100%. We are dealing with the gaps.
And it was the first thing that most parents saw was open schools up, have them go back, because that human element is gone. I still have students right now in year 9 saying, during COVID, I lost all my social skills. I've heard this from more than one student. So I agree with what you were saying. It was not going to replace you anytime soon, because humans are still humans.
True. A lot of message. Thank you so much. One last message for our audience. What would you like to give to parents, teachers, students who are listening to this? What they need to understand about when they're making career choices? Maybe as we spoke about gaps. We spoke about a lot of different elements. What do you think? What message would you like to give it to them? Emotionally, mentally, or whatever you want to give it to them. One last message before we move on to rapid fire.
Accept uncertainty. Don't fear it. Education as a whole and guidance should prepare you to learn more about yourself, learn more about the world, and think about how you can contribute meaningfully to it.
So let's start with rapid fire.
Let's go.
Yeah? Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Skills or subject? Which matters more in primary schools?
Skills.
One skill every child must leave year 6 with.
Listening.
Play-based learning, essential or overrated?
Essential.
Most underrated career skill we don't teach enough.
Reflection.
One classroom activity that builds real-world readiness.
Group work.
Should schools talk about jobs or pathways?
Pathways.
Future-proof skill, communication or critical thinking?
Critical thinking.
Digital literacy, start in Key Stage 1 or Key Stage 2?
Key Stage 1 if age appropriate.
One mistake schools make with career education.
Starting too late.
Best age to introduce goal setting.
8 years old.
If you could remove one barrier for students, what would it be?
Uncertainty.
Curiosity or confidence, which comes first?
Curiosity.
Soft skills, accessible or not?
Accessible.
Finish this sentence. Education should prepare children to
Adapt to change, understand themselves, and contribute meaningfully to the world.
Thank you so much for joining us today. One last question I want to know. If you have to define the word communication, what comes to your mind?
Honesty.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having
Thank
me. It's
you.
a pleasure.